Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be sharing one of my all-time favorite cheesecake flavors, and I'll be making my blueberry cheesecake with blueberry whipped cream on top, and this cake is just bursting with berry flavor. We're going to be adding blueberry preserves and fresh blueberries directly into the cheesecake batter, and then top the cake off with a light and fluffy blueberry whipped cream that you are going to want to eat with a spoon. It is so good. Now I'm going to be making this cheesecake batter with a combination of cream cheese and ricotta cheese, which just makes the fluffiest and lightest cheesecake ever. You guys are gonna love it. Let's get started and I'll show you just how easy this recipe is to make. And I'm going to get things started with my graham cracker crust. So into my food processor, I'm going to add an entire package. I think there's 9 crackers in this one. Just gonna drop it right in. You just wanna pulse these cookies until fine crumbs form. And then into my cookie crumbs, I'm going to pour in a 1/4 cup of melted butter. And I'm using unsalted butter today. And then pulse this again just until the crumbs are well coated. And before I transfer my graham crackers into my springform pan, I'm going to wrap the bottom of my pan with a large sheet of foil. This is extra wide foil. It's typically labeled as grilling foil because it's a bit nice and big size. And this way you don't have any leaks. So just wrap the sides. And I'm doing this because I'm going to be using the water bath method for baking my cheesecake, and I don't want any of that water seeping in and ruining my crust. Transfer the crumbs right into the pan. And then to level off the crumbs inside the pan, I'm using a potato masher, and it just makes this process super easy. You want a nice level crust. Press it firmly into the bottom of the pan. And today I'm using a 9-inch springform pan. My crust is all ready to go, so I'm going to set it aside for now and get started on that cheesecake batter. So I have 3 8-ounce packages of softened cream cheese. I let it stand at room temperature for about an hour so it's really nice and soft. And I'm going to drop it into my mixer bowl. And the last of my cream cheese is going into the mixing bowl. And now for mixing the cream cheese. So I like to mix my cream cheese with a whisk attachment on medium speed for about 7 to 9 minutes, and I scrape down the mixing bowl very often to get all the cream cheese incorporated. You want to get that cream cheese really creamy and smooth. And stopping to scrape down the sides of the mixing bowl is really important. Otherwise, you might end up with clumps of cream cheese in the cheesecake batter, and nobody wants to bite into that. So make sure to stop and scrape down frequently. My cream cheese is so light and fluffy, just how I want it. And now I'm ready to add the rest of my ingredients. So into my mixing bowl, I'm going to add in 1 cup of white granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 4 large eggs. Just drop them right in. And I'm going to mix this again for about 3 to 4 minutes, and I'm going to stop every minute to scrape down the sides of the mixing bowl until the eggs are really well beaten. And now for my next ingredients. I have 1 cup of whole milk ricotta cheese. I'm going to drop that in. And this ricotta cheese really helps the cheesecake stay super light and fluffy. You guys are gonna love this addition. And I have 1/2 cup of blueberry preserves. I'm going to mix in the ricotta cheese and the blueberry preserves for about a minute. And this cheesecake batter is so smooth and creamy. And now I'm ready for the last ingredient, and that's my fresh blueberries. So I'm going to drop in about 1.5 cups of fresh blueberries. And then grab my spatula and fold them right in. And this batter is all ready. And I'm going to pour the cheesecake batter in over my prepared crust. And now this next step is optional, but if you wanted to garnish the top of the cheesecake before it goes into the oven, you can add a little bits of blueberry jelly on top. Now what I did was I just grabbed a couple tablespoons of blueberry jam and I thinned it out with a little bit of water, so it's a little bit easier to pipe. I'm gonna just add little dollops of that on top. And now I want to show you how I prepare my water bath, and this step is actually easier done when the cheesecake is on the oven rack. I just wanted to show you guys here on the counter so it's easier to see. I just place the cheesecake onto a large baking sheet, and I'm going to fill it up with water. So you want quite a bit of water in there because it will evaporate as the cheesecake bakes, but this extra moisture in the oven is just going to help keep the cheesecake level and help prevent any cracks from forming on the top. And this cheesecake is ready to go into my preheated oven. It's going to bake at 315 degrees Fahrenheit for about 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. When it's done, the center will still have a little bit of give, a bit slightly wobbly. At that point, what I like to do is turn off the oven and then prop the oven door open with a wooden spoon just so it doesn't shut, and I let the cheesecake cool completely in the oven. It usually takes about 2 to 3 hours until it's completely cooled, and this way it's not going to crack as it cools, and it's a really nice slow cooling process. Once it's cooled, I'm going to place it into the refrigerator and let it chill overnight, and then I'll come back to add our blueberry whipped cream on top. Next, I'm going to be making my blueberry whipped cream. So you want to make this once your cheesecake is chilled and you're ready to serve. I have 2 cups of chilled heavy cream. I'm going to add in about 1 cup of confectioner's sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I'm going to grab my hand mixer and whisk this for a few minutes until stiff peaks form. And the last and most important ingredient is the blueberry preserves. I'm going to add anywhere from 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of the blueberry preserves straight into the whipped cream. And then grab your mixer again and mix this just until the blueberry preserves are incorporated. It takes just a few seconds. And this blueberry whipped cream is just so light and fluffy. Check that out. I'm just transferring it into a pastry bag. I've tipped it with a star tip. And we're going to pipe it on top of the cheesecake. Now this recipe makes quite a bit of whipped cream. It's extra whipped cream that you could serve on the side. If you don't want any extra, just cut this recipe in half. And I have a second cheesecake that I baked last night just so that I could show you guys how to take it out of the pan and how to decorate it. This cake is all cooled. I let it chill in the refrigerator overnight. And today I wanted to show you guys how to remove the springform pan without the cheesecake sticking to the sides. For this little trick, you're going to need a kitchen torch. We're going to use a kitchen torch and just heat the pan along the edges, and that just helps release the cheesecake from the sides, so when you take off the pan, nothing sticks to it. So let's do it. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not touching the actual pan because it's going to get very, very hot. So let the pan cool for a few minutes after you do this. And then to transfer the cheesecake onto a stand, I'm going to grab a flat cake spatula and slide it underneath the crust, kind of work my way around, make sure that the crust is completely disattached from the pan. And then we're going to carefully just let the cheesecake slide right off. And now let's garnish the top with that whipped cream. Today I'm using a Teco tip number 847. I'm going to pipe generous dollops of that cream on top. All right, let's cut into this stunning cheesecake to see what it looks like on the inside. And it's just such a beautiful cake. All right, let's check this out. I love that there's actually whole blueberries. They've kind of settled at the bottom. This is going to be so, so delicious. And that is it, guys, for my blueberry cheesecake. For the full recipe, don't forget to head on down in that video description box. I've left a link there that'll take you over to my website so you can print this recipe off and share it with your family and friends. And I absolutely love how this cheesecake turned out with that extra blueberry whipped cream on top. It just looks so stunning. Time to dig in and enjoy. Now I do have quite a bit of whipped cream left over, so again, if you're not going to be having extra whipped cream on the side, you could just cut the recipe in half. I'm gonna grab a little bit of that whipped cream. This cheesecake is just so light and fluffy. It's just unbelievable. Oh, there's a little blueberry in the bottom. I'm gonna grab that as well. Wow, this is so good. You guys are going to be blown away with the flavor of this cheesecake. There is so much berry flavor bursting in every single bite. I love the whole berries. They've kind of sunk down to the bottom of the cheesecake, but if you do get one of them, they're just so delicious. And then the cheesecake itself is flavored with the blueberry preserves, and then you have the blueberry whipped cream on top. You cannot ask for a better blueberry cheesecake. If you love berries, this cheesecake is definitely a must try. I also really like the texture of the cake. It's really light and fluffy, all thanks to that ricotta cheese that we added kind of towards the end of the recipe. It makes for a really light and fluffy cheesecake. You guys are gonna love this recipe. Don't forget, head on down in the video description box for the full link. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe as much as I do, and I'll see you next time with a new recipe.